Since the beginning of time, mankind has been forced to compete for survival. The spirit of competition has reached a pinnacle in the relationship of two best friends who battle against each other. Why? Glory for the winner, humiliation for the loser. Disgusting, immoral, fun. Kenny vs. Spenny may be the best thing that ever came out of Canadian television. It is pretty much a miracle that this show was on the air for over 5 years and is sporting 6 seasons regardless of the countless cancellations, media controversies, highly disgusting humiliations, and the general vulgarity of the show.
Go pick up Shaq!
I can't.
I hate this fucking show, and I fucking hate all you guys today. Fuck off!
Fuck on, you get better results.
Kenny vs. Spenny always captivated me from the very beginning, when I secretly watched Drawn Together, South Park and Kenny vs. Spenny on MTV and Comedy Central when I was a child, and still today, years later, when I rediscovered the show and started watching it in English. In the last 2 months, I have been watching at least one Kenny vs. Spenny episode a day. It doesn't really matter if I watched it before or not, it is still fun to experience any given episode again. I have been shocked to find out that this show is not as well known as I thought. I grew up around shithead edgelords, so my peers were very aware of it. But I got to know more and more people who have not been blessed to see one of the many degrading and disgusting humiliations of the show.
On you.
Sir, can I rub some suntan lotion on you?
Please.
Please?
So I am trying my best to introduce as many people to the show as possible. On the surface, this show seems like any other trashy reality TV program, but that would be the worst category you could put the show in. Kenny vs. Spenny is a show about competition and humiliation, happy versus unhappy, but most importantly, about the relationship of two best friends who battle against each other. Every episode follows a general structure. An episode always begins with the couch scene. Both Kenny and Spenny sit down on the couch in the living room and discuss the competition, what it is about, and depending on how loose the rules are, they sometimes even start the competition immediately after first discussing it. If Spenny wants to define the rules further, they meet in front of a whiteboard where Spenny, or sometimes even Kenny, outline the rules and determine what is allowed and what is prohibited. A lot of arguments arise from the rules alone, which really adds to the comedic value of the show. If any of the rules that were set up are broken and a participant has been busted, they have lost the competition. Both Kenny and Spenny have their own camera crew who follow them at all times and document their winning strategies and struggles during the competition. When a participant lost a competition, the winner decides what humiliating task the loser has to fulfill.
Got it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, come on here.
A competition can also come to a draw in endurance competitions and would end with a sudden death style mini competition. In rare occasions, double humiliations are performed when both participants forfeit the competition. Kenny vs. Spenny is different compared to other game shows though. Entertainment and comedy is put above anything else. Kenny at many points throughout the series finds various loopholes in the loosely defined rules of any given competition, cheats excessively, and takes full advantage of the fact that this show lacks real judges that can disqualify a cheating participant. When you start out watching the show, you will most likely root for Spenny, but when the end of season 1 comes along, you will most likely want to see him crushed. Kenny is the mastermind behind Kenny vs. Spenny, both in the confines of a show, but also behind the scenes when it comes to the production of a show. Kenny's vision on what this show was supposed to be is deeply rooted in everything you see. The editing, music choice, and even the iconic intro sequence of the show most likely arose from Kenny Hotz. As a little example on how much thought went into the show, the intro sequence is not only a collection of Kenny's favorite movies, but also bears meaning behind it. Most notably, the gladiator ring. The gladiator ring implies that the combatants, Kenny and Spenny, are not messed up for creating the show, but we viewers are the real sick fucks. We love to watch Kenny torment his best friend. We are entertained by watching a real friendship being torn apart episode by episode, and the degrading humiliations are just too outlandish for us to look away. Kenny is the average man of a show. He never wore makeup and looked like a feral ghoul for the majority of the show, especially after season 1. He plays video games, keeps his cool, has a nice sense of humor, and doesn't let the littlest comments get to him. Aside from Kenny tormenting Spenny for the comedic value of the show, Kenny seems to be a genuinely nice person. At many points throughout the show, Kenny shows a genuine concern towards Spenny and even shows him a lot of mercy in various episodes, something that Spenny sometimes seems unable to do.
I'm gonna go, I quit.
Blow the whistle! Blow the whistle! Get away from that fucking cliff! Hey, Donnie! I won the one. Did I win?
You won.
I won! I won!
Kenny Hotz, the Gulf War photographer, documentary filmmaker, and cheating participant of the Kenny vs. Spenny show, gave the show its identity through post-production and improv moment-to-moment comedy. But the reason why Kenny vs. Spenny is an unreplaceable, unreplicable masterpiece is the personality of Kenny's best friend. Neurotic, whiny, grumpy, and absolutely crazy. Spencer Nolan Rice is the reason why the show is timeless. He is predictable, at many points really awkward and easy to irritate. Spenny is the character you at first feel bad for, but then slowly start to turn against him. Spenny is very emotional and mostly acts in an erratic and inappropriate manner. Spenny's freakouts make me believe that most of what happens on the show is real. Most notably, the legendary suitcase fight, an outtake worth watching if you truly believe the show is entirely scripted.
What's it happening?
It's got a rope from a bathrobe, which I use to tie my hair up when I put makeup on. It's got my makeup. It's actually got a jock strap in it. And that's for in case I ever need it during the show, because sometimes the show gets physical.
Why don't you just leave
Hang
it?
on! I'm talking!
Just leave it
You
at
asked
home.
me a question.
Why do you have to
answer.
walk around with it? Leave
What?
it at home. Why do you have to walk around with it?
Because
With a rope and a
because we go
jockstrap.
out, because we go out and we do stuff on location, and I want to be prepared.
Oh, wait, that's funny.
Right?
What else would someone need a rope and a jock
It's
strap?
not a rope. It's not a rope. It's a belt from a bathrobe.
The best episodes are the ones where Spenny makes a complete fool out of himself by becoming cocky and increasingly believing that he is a better person than Kenny. Undoubtedly, his real character shines through sometimes, which makes him appear unlikable and arrogant, but most of the times he is really reserved and insecure. Behind the scenes, Spenny was way less productive on the show according to Kenny. During the post-production of the first season, Kenny worked on the show for months to make it as best as he could, while Spenny seeked out other career opportunities. That is partly the reason why Kenny became more and more sadistic throughout later seasons. During a DVD commentary, Kenny and Spenny get into an argument about who did the most work on the show, and after the show ended, Kenny stated many times how he was working on the episodes of the show without Spenny by his side. Amongst Kenny vs. Spenny fans, Spenny seems to be a bit underappreciated. While Spenny may not be the most reliable and trustworthy friend of Kenny's, he is the person we fans laugh at. Spenny is an enabler and easy to fuck with. Spenny knows Kenny is cheating, but he doesn't do that much against this. He also doesn't think things through when unbelievable things happen, making him say and do stupid things at the most inappropriate of times.
And, he wants to make a kid movie. He said something about robots. Like I care. You watch. It's gonna happen like that. The deals happen like that. When they want your script, it happens, and it happens fast. Hey, nobody say anything to Kenny right now, okay? Dudes?
Good stuff.
It's been my dream my whole life, is to sell a script.
What about the Bibles?
Fuck the Bibles!
Spenny is the log, and Kenny is the flame. Without the log, the flame does not survive. In a weirdly romantic way, Kenny and Spenny need each other to make Kenny vs. Spenny work. There is only one Spencer Nolan Rice, and thanks to him, we can enjoy a timeless cult classic, time and time again. Kenny vs. Spenny is the pinnacle of outsider television. The show's simple premise, loosely defined rules, and highly volatile and unpredictable hosts leaves a lot of room for exploring different kinds of comedy and overall entertainment.
Don't hit back like that. That's too hard.
Too fucking bad.
The show has a raw aesthetic and leaves a lot to be desired when compared to other comedy series with scripts, sets, and much bigger budgets. Lights were not used at all during the filming of any episodes, and the crew did not shy away from filming uncomfortable, disgusting, and overall weird happenings. The point of a show is to present the viewers with the ugly reality of things. The show is not beautifully shot, masterfully lit, or artificially funny. Everything presented in the show is supposed to feel real. No laugh tracks, no makeup, no bullshit. Even the soundtrack is rather unique to the show, especially the depressing background music mostly associated with Spenny doing something stupid or humiliating. The crew members also became characters of their own, sometimes being judges, sometimes helping Kenny and Spenny, and also by making jokes and reacting to the insanity of the happenings they witness.
I want everyone to know I'm better than him. He's a loser. I'm a winner.
And winners don't use drugs. Well, a little bit.
The show was viewed by relatively few, but these few enjoyed every second of the show. Judging by the many clones that came out, many celebrities and aspiring filmmakers saw value in the formula of two best friends competing as well. In German television, we have two examples. One good, the other shamefully bad. But if good or bad, they both are great examples why Kenny vs. Spenny is not replaceable. When it comes to clones, there always is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's first start with the bad and ugly. Elton vs. Simon is one of the most blatant and shameless rip-offs I have ever seen in television. The fans of the show are either not aware that Kenny vs. Spenny exists, or are Kenny vs. Spenny fans and appreciate the German version. The overall structure of the show is exactly the same in the first season, while the later seasons had a slightly more original formula, which later on the other show I will showcase adopted. You might think that the elements Elton vs. Simon copied were trivial or not too severe, and I am only exaggerating, but let me assure you that it's bad. The intro sequence of Elton vs. Simon is the exact same intro from Kenny vs. Spenny, with a German translation of the opening speech and with face cutouts of Elton and Simon lazily tracked over the faces of Kenny and Spenny. You can even sometimes see the original faces in this sequence, and the main theme of Kenny vs. Spenny is completely unaltered. The text fonts, the design language, the colors. This show does not have an original bone in its body. And to say that it was inspired by the original is a gross understatement. To add insult to injury, not only some designs and some text is copied, even competitions from the first season of Kenny vs. Spenny were replicated in Elton vs. Simon, including the same jokes, strategies, and gimmicks present in the original show. Best example, the sleeping competition. One of the two stooges ingests caffeine pills, drinks coffee, buys a sleep zapper, and a lamp hat to stay awake. The show also features humiliations, but I can't comment how original those are, since I can't sit through an entire episode of Elton vs. Simon. I assume the humiliations aren't nearly as edgy as the humiliations Kenny and Spenny came up with. The biggest problem with Elton vs. Simon are Elton and Simon. Their personalities are a bit too samey. Both try to be edgy but fail at being edgy most of the times. There isn't really a dominating and genius persona that portrays Kenny Hotz, and there isn't a weakling, fragile, tortured man in vein of Spencer Nolan Rice. Elton and Simon are equals who act like they are something they are not, which makes the show feel fake. Granted, the show evolves a bit in the later seasons when the host started experimenting with the live show formula. But this doesn't change the fact that the show shamelessly ripped off Kenny vs. Spenny in the first season. The second exhibit is a perfect example of how a Kenny vs. Spenny clone can look like. Yoko gegen Klaas is a live show just like the later seasons of Elton vs. Simon, and Yoko and Klaas are actual best friends. They are both retards throughout many points of their competitions, and they both like torturing each other, and they do muster up some pretty unique and edgy competitions. My personal favorite being the Capture the Flag competition in Croatia, which let Yoko, Klaas and their teams play a friendly paintball match of Capture the Flag. Just with tranquilizer guns, normally used to disable wild animals.
Ja, da hatte ich ihn.
Man down! Abbruch! Abbruch!
Fuck, aua. Fuck, Alter, kann ich's rausziehen? Alter, ich zieh's raus. Scheiße.
Für jeden war auch die Erleichterung so riesig. Weil sie wussten, ich bin nicht der Erste, der getroffen wurde.
Alter, das hat wirklich richtig doll gefixt auf einmal. Ja. Wie fühlst du dich? Das ist irgendwie so schlecht.
Cheating also happens from time to time, but most of the times the competitions give equal opportunity to the hosts to win or lose any given game. There definitely is a rivalry between the two friends, but the rivalry is more fun and games than anything else. Their friendship is not tarnished, they are both successful and have a lot of financial backing, giant crews and layers of makeup. Yoko gegen Klaas is mainstream media friendly, while the original is not. While the basic formula of Kenny vs. Spenny is maintained, the humiliations were dropped and the show doesn't only rely on the competition itself. The show is maybe edgy at points, but is generally not too appealing to outsiders. Kenny vs. Spenny is a once-in-a-lifetime show which is not replaceable. The appeal of the show is to see the real thing. Real friends competing in immature, childish, and even dangerous competitions. Fuck lighting, fuck makeup, and fuck actors. Kenny vs. Spenny was real. Both Kenny and Spenny got hurt, cocky, evil, and humiliated, and almost everything they did was aired on TV. The show was very politically incorrect for their humiliations, jokes, and occasional off-the-cuff social commentary. One of the most hilarious moments on the show to me was when Kenny, a Jew by the way, put his mother in concentration camp attire and reenacted an excerpt of the book Mein Kampf while making his mother climb into an oven.
Hey! Okay, this is an excerpt from Mein Kampf, from Volume 1, Chapter 2, Years of Study and Suffering in Vienna. Okay, Mom, while I'm reading, I need you to get on your hands and knees and stick your head in the fireplace. And pretend you're crying. Many times Hermann Goering would come to my house and pull out a schnitzel. We would dance together in the Hofbrauhaus singing gaily. Jewish songs including Hava Nagila. Mom, make cry some more. You know, something's not right. This isn't right. No. Okay, sorry. Get out of there. This needs to be historic. This isn't authentic enough for me. But we are having fun. Get in there, Jew. Every movement which has gained its human material must first divide the materials into two groups, namely followers and members. It is in the task. Source of our maintenance.
Did you put the oven on?
Stay in there!
Are you crazy? I don't want to play this game anymore.
You're ruining my fun! I hate you!
The dynamic between Kenny and Spenny evolves organically throughout the show, and it serves as an interesting case study of a neurotic man turning absolutely insane after being humiliated dozens of times on national television. There is no other show that follows the slow and elongated destruction of a friendship. There is no other show on TV right now that is as raw, edgy, and unfiltered as Kenny vs. Spenny was. We have a lot of edgy and absurd stuff airing on TV nowadays. The generic absurdist Adult Swim shows, the low-budget entertainment through exploitation of poor and dumb people in Germany, and shitty fat poetry slam comedians talking about mundane stuff as if it was interesting, simply don't offer the same entertainment value true outsider comedy like Kenny vs. Spenny or South Park have on offer. In the entertainment industry, no one really likes Kenny vs. Spenny. And no one really likes South Park either. Yet they both still exist. One cancelled, and the other is still creating more stuff and being universally popular around the world. Kenny vs. Spenny, a show about competition and humiliation. A show about tragedy and comedy. But what this show possesses, which no other show like it has, is friendship. Kenny vs. Spenny, first and foremost, is a show about the destruction of a friendship, for the entertainment of the sick fucks watching it. And that is why I keep coming back to watch one more episode again and again.